Hey, what's up guys? I'm Dan Fletcher. Today I want to show you guys how to take your Codepen projects and host them on a service called Netlify. Netlify makes hosting single-page apps or static websites extremely easy, and it's a great way for new developers to showcase their work in a way that looks a bit more professional and complete than simply sharing a link to Codepen. Best of all, Netlify is free. The project that I'm going to push up to Netlify today is one I created a while ago from back when I was following the freecodecamp curriculum. If you haven't heard of freecodecamp and you're just starting out with all of this stuff, I highly suggest you check it out. The site's completely free and it will walk you through a ton of stuff. Then it'll challenge you to apply the things you learn along the way by building real projects, just like the one we're going to be putting on Netlify today. So the first place most students build their projects is on a site called Codepen, which is this site, and is also where my app is right now. But eventually you need to learn how to give your apps and websites homes on the internet that's not Codepen, actually give them real web URLs, which is what I'm going to show you now. Now, I know there will be people judging, so I'm going to get this out of the way quick. First, the last time I touched this was over 3 years ago, and I'm pretty sure when I wrote it initially, it was much longer than that. So there's some things that are dated as well as indicative of a very junior developer, which I was back then. I've also never been a designer or have ever been very good at it, so I know this doesn't look great, but I thought it looked cool at the time, and neither code quality or design is the focus of this video. With that out of the way, the first thing we have to do is make a place for this to live on our computers. You can make this directory however you wish, but I'm just going to open up my terminal and I'm going to make it from here. And then I'm going to enter the directory, and from here I'm going to open up my code editor, which I use VS Code. If you've never worked on a project locally on your computer before, you might not have a code editor yet, which is totally fine. If you just do a quick search for VS Code, follow the instructions for installing it, and then once you have VS Code open, you can load the directory or file that you just created by going to File, Open Folder. Now that we have our project open in VS Code, it's time to make a few files for our code to live in. If you look right here, this is our project folder. If you click on it, it'll expand so you can see all the files inside of it, which we have none yet. This icon here, you click on that to make a new file, and the first one we're going to make is just called index.html. I'm going to jump back over into Codepen and just grab the HTML portion of my code here. So I'm going to select it all and just copy that into my clipboard. And then go back into VS Code. And when you write HTML in Codepen, a ton of stuff that normally would go into an HTML document is missing. So we need to add that in first. In VS Code, you can just type HTML:5 and hit the tab key, and you'll see a skeleton of an HTML document get created automatically for you. And from here, you can just go ahead and paste the code that you copied earlier from Codepen between these opening and closing body tags, like so, and then save. So that's it for the HTML. Now we have to go and do the same thing for the JavaScript and CSS. Let's start by making another file, and we're going to call it styles.css. Now we're going to jump back over into Codepen and grab that CSS. So I'm just going to select it all, copy it to my clipboard, switch back to VS Code, and paste it here. Okay, make another new file, call it app.js. Back over into Codepen, copy it, back to VS Code, and paste this here, and save your file. Now we're really close to being able to deploy this to Netlify. There's just a few things we still have to do. First, we have to include our JavaScript and CSS inside of our index.html file. Then you may not have to do this, but I have to go and include jQuery with this project. After that, I can make a GitHub repo, and from there, it's super simple to deploy this all to Netlify. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to my index.html file. And real quick, I'm just going to change the title to Pomodoro Timer. Now I'll add my script tag. And I'm going to make the source the app.js file. This will make sure that my JavaScript loads and runs when I view this page in a browser. Now I can go ahead and add my link tag. This is what I'm going to use to pull in my styles.css. You can go ahead and save. Now we should actually be able to see this app work inside of a web browser. So just right click your index.html file, select copy path, and if you paste this into your browser's address bar, you should be able to see it running just fine like this. Now mine's actually not going to work yet because I'm still missing jQuery, but I'm going to add that now. If you made your initial app on Codepen and you have any JavaScript dependencies, they're going to be loaded through a CDN. You can just copy the link to the CDN and use that to include whatever dependencies you have. So I'm just going to click the JS settings icon here, and that'll open up this modal. And you can see on this project I was using jQuery 2.2.2. I can just copy this link and switch back into VS Code. Now I'm going to add another script tag. Only this time the source is just going to be the link that I just copied from Codepen. And I can go ahead and save. One other thing we have to do still is add the defer attribute to our first script tag. Just like that. And what this is going to do is make sure that our app code doesn't run until the browser is done parsing our document and everything is finished loading. This is going to prevent any issues with jQuery not existing when our script runs. And now, if I go back into the browser where I was running the app, I should be able to see it working without any issues. If I click start, nice. Okay, if you've gotten this far, you're ready to make a GitHub repo. With VS Code, this is super simple, but first you'll have to make sure you have a GitHub account if you don't already. Just go to github.com, click on sign up here, and it's also free. Now that you have your GitHub account, go back into VS Code. And then you just want to click this button right here and click publish to GitHub. You're going to want to click allow. And this should take you to this page, and you can click continue, sign in, authorize GitHub, and you're done. And you can just close this window, or you can click this button. And if you click open, now you should have this option, publish to GitHub private repository. We're just going to call this 2 because I actually already have a repo called exactly that. And I'm gonna just select all the files and click OK. And now VS Code is publishing this to GitHub. Now we can click the Open in GitHub button. And here's our GitHub repo. And now we're ready to deploy. So at this point, you can go ahead and create a Netlify account if you haven't done so already. Once you sign in, this is going to be the screen that you'll see. So just click New Site from Git. and you're gonna select GitHub. You'll have to authorize. I authorize already, and then you can search for the repo that you want to deploy here. And just give it a moment, and it should. Oh, maybe you have to hit enter. I'm gonna select the one that I just created here, and all of the defaults are okay for this app. And you're just gonna click deploy site, and it's gonna be super quick. Just give it a moment. And it's ready, so we can click this link, and we're done. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you watched, or this was helpful for you, don't forget to give the video a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. Cheers.